All right, Shalom. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who does lead and rule well. Salutations to all you hopeful like Akim pushing out this word in truth and in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And sincere Shalom also to you, Akim and Aqua, for listening and learning, preparing yourselves here in these last days. All right, into the entire household of faith, fighting this good fight of faith, I want to say Shalom. This is your brother Dequar from the DC camp. Come back at you another lesson, and I'm entitled this one: Spirituality versus Technicality. The Raj Kasabi did a video, the spirit of the law versus the law of the letter, essentially, and that's I wanted to do an example of that, and I want to go into specifically the Sabbath day, well, I'll use that example, but this all has to do with spiritual maturity, man. Because right now, we behind enemy lines, but we ought to still rehearse the righteous act. We ought to still keep the laws to the best of our ability, but we cannot keep the laws to the best of our ability. But that doesn't mean you can just pick and choose what you can and can't do. But we still got to be found perfect. So what does that actually mean? You have to walk in the spirit. That's the only way to know. That's the only way to know. And if you're not walking in the spirit, that's why when we be getting on people, they don't understand. They'll point to, well, you going off too. You doing this and that and things too. It's a lot. But they don't understand the spirit of the law. And as long as you're doing that, that's how you're going to be walking in the spirit. That's how you're going to be approved. All right. But let me get straight into it. I don't got a lot of time. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So, of course, we know that Yahweh Shai did no sin. Like, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, he was perfect. And he did no sin, right? But check this out. This is Mark 2. And I'm going to start at verse 23. It says, question of the Sabbath. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of the corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, have ye never read what David did when he had need and was an hungered, he and they that were with him, how he went into the house of the Most High in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful to eat but for the priest, and gave also to them which were with him. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Okay? So technically, they was going off because that was only for the priest. And the law, and at times the Most High was so, strict on it. or the example is one example, I'll say, is what's that script? Numbers 15. Let's get that. Numbers 15, I think it's in, bear with me, in verse 30. In verse 32, it says, and while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron, into all the congregation. And they put him inward, because it was not declared what should be done to him. And Yahweh said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died as Yahweh had commanded. All right. So, hey, that's how strict it was. You was under the law, But you got to consider the time period, the things that they were able to do, how they was able to prepare, So you got a certain time where, like, the disciples, they was picking corn so that they could eat, Now he was picking up sticks and he got stoned. But it said while they were in need, man. You got to consider that. You got some of these dudes out here, we ain't supposed to do anything on the Sabbath. We ain't supposed to cook. We ain't supposed to do that and that. But yet they would sit up here and say you can have sex on the Sabbath. They would become unclean on the Sabbath, right? You got men that would think that they keeping the laws, oh, I'm not going to buy anything on the Sabbath. Meanwhile, you thinking about buying a toy to get pegged. I mean, this is how you know you're not in the spirit. You got to understand the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. Because here it is. Well, let's say, we camped on the Sabbath fell on Saturday, but you got to, get something quick to eat. You got to, because you wasn't able to prepare. That's not the same of, I broke the Sabbath, so now I can, do other things on the Sabbath. Like, you got to understand being in the spirit, for lack of a better word. Now, I got another scripture. This is Ecclesiastes 7 in verse 16. It says, be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? Be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? So you're going to have that example. You got people that, you got to wear the fringes at all time, even at work. When we be like, that's not being spiritual, man. That's not wise. Because the scripture said we walk as, let me get it. This is Matthew 10 and 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils and will scourge you in your synagogue. So we don't wear fringes 24/7. First of all, we're not even able to wear one fabric, So you dudes that saying that you keeping the law, you're not keeping the law, So you got to understand when what is wisdom, what is wise, and you get that from being in the spirit, So you got that, and then you're going to have some people, because of the scripture I read, why not die before that time? They'll be like the ones that, is it Eleazar? I believe it's Eleazar in 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Let me get that. They might be like, oh, well, I'm not going off. I'm not going off if I don't really eat the swine, But he was in the spirit because he didn't do it because he knew it would set a bad example. So technically you didn't sin, but you will be sinning because you're putting a stumbling block in front of your brethren. So this is how you, just like the people, the MOTB, it doesn't necessarily say, putting this in your, come on, man. If you spiritual, you can see that that's when you going off. Yeah, we follow the laws of the land because they're going to come with that. You're supposed to follow the law of the land. Romans, the 13th chapter. I'm trying to get the man's name. So like, yeah, it's not popping up. Oh, because it's in the 6th chapter. I didn't mean to say the 7th chapter. And it is Eleazar, one of the principal scribes and aged men and well-favored countenance. All right. Yeah, he didn't take the swine's flesh, man. Read that chapter. But he also didn't take what would have been perceived as it, because you got to be in the spirit, man. These are the examples that I'm trying to get, So King David and them was in need. That's why Yahushua brought that out, And then you go back to that. Well, it's another one. Dang. Let me get it, because he was talking about losing the sheep on the Sabbath. It's all about being spiritual, man. You know, because technically we all are sinners, but what's going to be the differentiate? What's going to differentiate the ones that the Lord looks at as the sinners that He's going to condemn versus the ones that He looks at as perfect, man? You know. Maybe I'm think I'm getting two scriptures mixed up. Let me see. Nope. Where is? Bear with me 1 second. It might not have been. I think I'm confusing two scriptures. It happens, man. You know. Because it was talking about, I guess it was the healing on the Sabbath. Let me see. John 5. Yeah. This is John 5 and verse 7. The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me in the pool, but while I'm coming, another steppeth down before me. Yahushua saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. Well, this is still not the same one, but I Lord's will, I'll find it. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed wist not who it was, for Yahushua had conveyed himself away, and a multitude being in that place. I mean, dang. Okay, I'll keep going. It says, Afterward, Yahushua findeth him in the temple and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more. Sin no more. So was it, It says, Lest a worse thing come unto thee. The man departed and told the Jews that it was Yahushua which made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Yahushua and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath. So Yahushua told him to walk. But did Yahushua give him a license to sin? No, he did not. But Yahushua answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. So yeah. So let's say the Sabbath fall on the Sabbath, on the Saturday. Does that mean we don't go and teach the word? See, this is what happens. This is how the scriptures can become a snare to you people that's not spiritual. But if you are spiritual, you're going to know all things. If you're doing the will of the Lord, you're going to understand doctrine, man. Point blank, period. What was the first one that I got? I don't want to get it again. Mark. Okay. Yeah, Yahushua had a ministry on the Sabbath, man. He healed on the Sabbath. All right. And then, so the Sabbath, well, this is a different one. I want to get the other version, Matthew, the 12th chapter. Matthew 12 and 5. Well, I started for how he entered into the house of the Most High and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? That's what I'm saying. What's going to show you that if you're blameless or not? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. And that's what you got to understand. Yahweh Shai is above that, just like he's over the law. We following Yahweh Shai. We not under the law right now. We under Yahweh Shai. We under the grace, that they've provided to us, But that don't mean you just go and sin, you see. But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. Okay? Yeah, this is it. And when he was departed thence, he went into the synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Okay? Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thy hand, and he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole like as the other. Because this is the spirit of the law, man. It's okay to do well on the Sabbath. That's when you got to have judgment, discernment, The Most High intended that Sabbath day to be a day to set apart for himself. But for the Sabbath was made for man, not the man for the Sabbath, like Yahweh Shah said. So you're supposed to re-up on your spiritual, your mental, your physical, just like the land that has to rest on the seventh year, man. That's we work 6 out of 7 days, man. He designed our bodies a particular way, and then especially in this world, you want detox, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to grab, though, I'm just trying to see if I want to grab anything else. Let me get 2 Corinthians, and then I'll close. 3. This is 2 Corinthians 3 and verse I'll start at 1. It says, Do we begin again to commend ourselves, or do we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you? Ye are our epistles written in our hearts, known and read of all men. For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Hamashiach ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the spirit of the living power, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. And such trust have we through Hamashiach to the Most High word. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think of anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of the Most High, who also have made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. All right, and that's what this thing is about now. Because if we had to be under the law right now, we wouldn't be able to make it, man. So we've been released from the law, and we've been made to serve in the newness of the Spirit, man. I think that's all I wanted to get, man. I'm just trying to stress the spirit of the law over the technicality of the law. I'm not shitting on the law, for lack of a better term, But Yahweh Shai, just like it, he's the Lord of the Sabbath, man. So ultimately, this has to do with spiritual maturity and growing in the spirit and learning. You're able to discern, man. You're able to discern between the righteous and the wicked, man. So when we say certain things and these dudes don't get it, they want to defend themselves. They don't understand that it's coming from the spirit, man. But, Lord's will, that was edifying. Until the next lesson, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. And shalom to the hopeful elect. I want until the next one, I want to say shalom.